There are a lot of negative people out there who are going to get you down if you let them, and they're going to ruin your joy and ultimately ruin your business. So we are here today to talk about that subject and also give you some tips for how to deal with all the negativity that's out there. Welcome to the Prof Sales YouTube channel. I'm Prof Sales.
Hi, everybody. Just Ask Kaaren here.
And on this channel, we talk about being a reseller, being an entrepreneur, being in business for yourself, mindset, staying positive, tactics, strategy, all the things you would need if you're going to be in business for yourself, and so much more. And we're glad you guys stopped by. There's a live chat going on right now during this show. We are live while this is being recorded. And if you want to join us, you can hop on at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays Eastern Standard here in the United States. And you can join the show, but you can also leave a question or comment down below if you wanted to after this show processes.
Man, that is the longest intro of all time.
I don't think it's the longest intro of all time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that negative, Prof?
Yeah. She's like, no, I'm positive that was the longest intro of all time. So today we are going to talk about negativity a little bit, and we definitely want to hear your thoughts in the chat. Hear your comments in the live chat room as we're going. If you have things you want to share with us, let us know if you can hear us okay too. Sometimes the internet's always a little glitchy, but I think it's okay today, but you never know. And yeah, we're gonna run with this. So all right, so the topic of the show is how to deal with negative people and your eBay business, sort of putting those two things together. And I think it's important to make sure that you are dealing with, all the negative people that are out there in a way that will, keep your business going and so on. But we kind of need to dive into this a little bit because there is so much negativity out there that I don't think it's just enough just to say, hey, yeah, deal with the negative people and just be all positive and happy, happy, joy, joy. I mean, that doesn't really work, does it?
No, we can't really. And we're not suggesting that we just wave a magic wand here and it all goes away. But we really, we're not just throwing it out there. Like we did a thingy for Instagram this morning. And I think my total contribution was mean people suck. Well, yeah, they do. But I don't think we ever really consider how much other people and outside influences affect our progress, affect our success, even when they have nothing to do with our own process, right? We kind of let it seep in like a sickness. And without even knowing it sometimes, suddenly we're, down on ourselves, or we're not as successful or motivated as we could be. And
right.
We're gonna talk about some strategies and some real life, how can you do it? How can you deal with it better? We talk a lot about how, and we were dealing with it this morning about something. When I said something about our business and I said it makes me feel a certain way, and you were so quick to say, well, stop right there, because it's not about how I feel. It's not about how my emotions are affected by the business that we do. And so I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that we're going to talk about some sources of negativity, but the biggest source of negativity, which we actually didn't put on our notes here, is the negativity inside you. If you have it, I mean, you get to choose. This is the thing. You get to choose how you perceive situations. You get to choose how what happens to you affects you. And a lot of people's default is to go negative with it. And that negativity can take a lot of forms. It can cause you to curl up in a little ball and wish it would all go away. It can make you want to lash out at people. It can make you self-destructive and turn to things that aren't good for you. It can take all kinds of forms, but ultimately you get to decide how you view things. So the negativity that might exist inside you is one that you have to work on an hourly basis. I don't think it's a daily basis. I think it's all the time, like because things happen. Oh my gosh, this is so terrible, or this is so great, or this is just another obstacle to overcome. I mean, there's all different ways of looking at it.
Well, and the negativity, like when when you're down on yourself, you tend to have these conversations in your own brain. And we do this not only with ourselves and our own mindset, but we project how we feel onto other people and other circumstances. So I think that's one of the biggest hurdles for, you know, squashing out the negativity, is to stop that nonsense in your brain, like those conversations that you're having all by yourself that really you shouldn't be, probably.
So let's talk about, where does negativity come from? And again, this could be in your own mind too, but we're going to talk about specifically today, negativity coming at you from other people. And here's really where negativity comes from. There's a few different sources. One is the FOMO, fear of missing out, that somebody, you're doing something with your business, you're in business for yourself, and somebody else doesn't like that they're missing out on all the goodness that you're getting. And a lot of times it's built up in their mind. And so it kind of manifests as they're negative towards you. They put your business down, they put you down, they tell you it won't work, because ultimately they're afraid that they're missing out on something good and you're getting it. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I do the next one?
Yeah.
Insecurities about our own results. That's a biggie too.
Yeah, I mean, that one is like, you get results in your eBay business or in whatever business you have, but you're not really sure how well you're doing. And because it's sort of all arbitrary, right? I mean, how well you're doing, how poorly you're doing, those words really don't mean anything. You're just doing, like, you're getting results. You're getting some sort of results. Maybe your results are no sales. Maybe there are a lot of sales. Maybe they're, who knows? Fill in the adjective. But you're insecure about them, and other people can sense that a lot of times, and they'll jump on it. You know, if you come into a conversation, you tell someone, yeah, I'm in business for myself, but it's been a rough year. Sometimes people will jump on that and say, well, you know, what you're doing probably is not really going to work, or it doesn't make sense, or I told you so. I mean, it takes so many forms that people are, and it really all stems from being insecure about your results. The next negativity driver, I guess, here is the comparison game.
Positivity sucker, we'll call it.
Positivity sucker. I like that.
Sponge. Positivity sponge.
Well, that would be good if you soaked up positivity.
Oh.
But you just didn't give any back out.
Right.
So the comparison game, we've talked about this one before. This one takes in the eyes of other people, it looks like this. You tell somebody, hey, I just sold blah, blah, blah on eBay. I just had this kind of month on eBay. And then they tell you, oh, okay, but so-and-so over there did this, which is, in their eyes, better than you. Therefore, making you feel like, or trying to make you feel like your results weren't, you know, up to speed of others. So the comparison game is a really tricky trap to fall into. And a lot of people will try to get you to fall into it. You know, they'll say, oh, well, they've got more money than you. They've got more listings than you. They got a bigger store than you. They've been doing it longer than you. They deal with it better than you. Their YouTube channel is bigger than yours. Their Instagram account has more followers than yours. I mean, the list of this goes on and on and on and on. So the comparison game is probably the most destructive one in a lot of ways. Yep.
And I also think that letting your past haunt you is an easy way to allow the negativity to just fester, right? Remembering your past failures or your past, just because it was a certain way one time means it's always going to be that way.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, your own failures will hold you back, and you will absolutely fail, whatever that means to you. I don't even look at it that way. It's just like you learn something. You don't really fail. You just learn something. You learn how something didn't work or didn't work the way you thought, and then you use that and you adjust. So negativity comes at you from all those places. But now we're going to talk about 4 very specific sources, I guess. Not so much the mindset, but actual groups or people that can bring it to you.
Where's your negativity? Where's the possible negativity in your life going to come from?
Yeah. And if you guys, if in the chat, you know, let us know kind of where maybe you've experienced negativity running your business, being in business for yourself. Where does it come from? What's it look like? Be interested to hear, and we'll share some of those as we go. But the first one I want to talk about is probably the most insidious one of all, I think, in a lot of ways, and it's from your family. Your family can be one of the largest sources of negativity you may run into. And it may not be your entire family, but it can be a brother or a sister or, a grandparent or a parent, somebody who just basically thinks it's not going to work. It's not going to work, Kaaren, what you're doing.
Or even your annoying cousin, Rupert. No offense if there are any Ruperts in the chat, mind you. But, like everybody's got an opinion about everything, right?
Right. Yeah. They're going to tell you, your family is going to tell you why it won't work sometimes. They're also going to tell you, this is my favorite one. They're going to tell you the best way to do it. Oh, Kaaren, you're selling on eBay. Well, this is how you should really do it.
Or this is what you should sell. And, I've never sold a thing on eBay myself.
But I'm an expert. Even when they're trying to tell you the best way, sometimes that can come from a good place, but a lot of times it's not.
Let's just be honest. I mean, how many times can we hear over and over again the same message from the same source, right? You know, not only are you doing it wrong or you should do it this way, but you should just be doing something entirely different. Like I know how you should live your life. Here, do it, do it this way.
Great.
This is how we've done it. This eBay thing, this too shall pass. Why don't you go deliver newspapers at 4 a.m. or something? I don't know.
Yeah. The people that sometimes your family members, it comes from that place of they have a better plan for your life, which I found in some cases ends up being the plan they had for their life.
And
that didn't work out.
That didn't work out. Exactly.
Yeah. Which is interesting, I mean, and there's nothing quite like family disappointment. And of course I've had conversations with my family and, we've had discussions about things, but it's not like we have some big, huge running argument or disagreement about anything. But ultimately your family kind of thinks you should do things a certain way and turn out a certain way and go down this path or that, without really giving you the chance to become the individual that you are.
Yeah, moms do that all the time, right? How often as moms do we project our own success on how our kids turn out?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Newsflash, their mistakes are not our mistakes. They're just not.
Oh, that's a great point. Number 2, your spouse.
Significant other, partner, roommate, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, your spouse, and I keep them separate from your family in this discussion because you probably spend potentially the most time with your spouse, with whomever. And so they have a huge impact on, or the potential to impact your mindset and your, what you think about this business and so on. And I think they can have a better plan for your life. That's one thing they could do, but there's a couple others, right?
Right. And when we were, brainstorming this one in particular, we couldn't help but think, especially with someone you're living with on a day-to-day basis, maybe it's coming from a good place. And maybe it's not, I'm not going to give them a carte blanche free pass here. But all of the things that we thought of, I couldn't help but, as I always do, consider the source, consider why somebody would say anything that they would say. Right.
Yeah. Well, and your spouse may think, they may have a couple things they may think that could be different than your family. One, they may think you're a hoarder. They may think you have an issue if you're continually buying things and not listing them, not selling them. And let's be honest, that could be true in some cases, right? That can be true. Oh, I'm going to start a business, but you never actually follow through with any of the business part. You just do the buying part, which is not enough. So that could be true. But just, know that sometimes your spouse could be concerned that you're buying a lot of things and they don't see a lot of things going out the door. So they think you could have some sort of problem. Yeah.
So I think and that's, maybe a way you can deal with all of these things, but you need to have a response to how to, consider where it's coming from, and understand, that maybe they mean it in a good way. Because also, even though your spouse may be working another job or doing another thing, they're also going to have opinions on how you should do it. And maybe they're going to tell you all the time that you're doing it wrong. How often does that happen to people?
Yeah. Some people in the chat were saying my husband loves that can do this and be a stay-at-home mom as long as I don't spend all day on it. Must have family time, which is true, right?
There's that word, right? Balance. Love it.
They could,
love it.
right. And to some degree, your spouse could think, that ties into you're doing it the wrong way, which is similar to what your family would say. But sometimes it can be jealousy, it can be insecurity. If your business is taking up what they perceive to be too much of your time and energy.
Yeah, good point.
And that's a whole nother discussion and a whole nother topic, but it's a very legitimate topic.
Yeah, we'll take individuals on the Prof sales psychology reseller couch on that one.
You can sit on the virtual couch. Number 3, and here's the one where when I said this one, Kaaren gave me the raised eyebrow a little bit that she does. There it is. There's the raised eyebrow. I love the raised eyebrow. This is another source of negativity. And yes, I'm saying this potentially about, I guess myself could be included in this, right?
Yeah, just stick with them. This is a good one, I promise.
So a third source of negativity in your eBay business could be coming from YouTube/other resellers. Let that sink in for a moment. And the reality is that there's lots of people that are in reseller Facebook groups and forums and so on, websites. There's a lot of people who are, there's quite a few resellers who have YouTube channels and are talking about their business and what they sell and so on.
And how they do it and why they do it better than everybody else.
Yeah, and that's basically the people who are already in this business and are negative about it. Now, you have to make your own determination about what's negative and what's constructive criticism. And sometimes that's a fine line. But the people who are genuinely negative about it, that are YouTubers or resellers, I find fall into one of two camps for the most part. YouTubers and resellers, it'll just tell you, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. I know everything. And if you're doing it different than I'm doing it, you're stupid, you're misinformed, you're not being the most effective, you're not being the most efficient. Here's the thing. Here's reality. There's lots of different ways to make these business models work. And even if someone's model, if we could somehow quantify it and say that it is better than your model, it doesn't matter. You have to explore this business on your own terms and figure out what will work for you given your specific set of circumstances. And I promise you that nobody has exactly the same set of circumstances you have. Yours are somewhat different. Lots of things might be the same, but there are going to be certain little parts of your day, your life, your situation that are different that might make you have to do it a slightly different way or even a completely different way.
Well, you're sourcing different venues, you're buying different things, come on, compare apples to apples here. And in this business, there's just no way to do that.
Right. I mean, it would be like if I came on my channel every day and Kaaren was with me and we said, you know what, sell jeans and only sell them just like this, only do free shipping, only buy these brands, only pay this amount or less, never do it any other way. That's ridiculous.
Like we don't even do that.
We don't. I mean, if I had to sit here and explain to you my business model, I can explain it in general, but in the specifics, there's a lot of nuance and little areas where things will change and exceptions will be made. And ultimately, for a lot of you, buying jeans and selling them may not be the best fit for you for lots of reasons. Maybe you can't jeans in your area. Maybe jeans don't do anything for you. Maybe you have a high cost of acquisition. All kinds of reasons why it might not be the right fit for you.
And stay with them. This section of possible negative people in your life, we're not saying it's all YouTubers. We're not saying it's all other resellers. But we're challenging you to take a look at all of these categories and how they're affecting you. Like, own it. Like, if you're surrounding yourself and allowing any amount of negativity into your life, into your business, I guarantee you it's having a negative effect on you, on your life, on your business. Your balance is off.
Right. And someone said, I thought you guys are the experts. Well, I mean, I'm an expert on my business and my model and my results. That's it. For everything else, I can give you advice. And it may work for you. It may work spectacularly better for you. It may work worse for you. It may not work for you at all. You may not even want to try it. And that's just reality. And I think anybody who says any different than that is not really being genuine, because there's not just one way to do this. And I've heard so much conventional wisdom that's not really that wise in the community. You've got to find your own way with this, guys. So
I got an idea. So we're doctors. We're practicing the art of e-commerce. How's that? You know, it's the practice of medicine. Why can't it be the practice of e-commerce?
Well,
I know.
If I get a doctor, though, I don't want him just to be practicing. I want him to be an expert. But I'm just saying.
So you completely just shot that. There's got to be somebody that was right along with me on that one, right?
I'm with you. I get what you're saying. The second mistake that YouTubers and / resellers will fill your life with negativity with is they are victims.
Oh, the second category, right.
Second category.
They either know everything or it's all going wrong. eBay messed up again today.
The buyers are scamming me all the time. eBay's out to get me. They're always hiding my listings. Other YouTubers are out to get me and sabotage my business. The thrift stores are trying to screw us over and put us out of business by raising all their prices. Like, they're just victim. And I just want to say to those people, it's like, if that's what you truly believe, why do you do this? Why do you put yourself through this? Why not do anything else where you're not a victim? Literally anything else.
I just can't do it. I can't, like, hearing the same message over and over again about how I'm not doing well, or it's always, you know, there's a glitch again here, or, you know, so-and-so is out to get me, or eBay is, you know, against me, or whatever. Like, I'm with you. Like, why? You know, I left a desk job because it made me feel the exact same way.
Right. I mean, you know, if you truly feel that way, you should choose a different path. But I think a lot of those people don't really feel that way. They really think, they're really unsure about themselves and the results and what they're doing. And it kind of comes out that way. Like, they're almost like excuses they're making in a weird way when they don't get the result they thought they should get. Oh. Instead of thinking, all right, that didn't turn out the way I thought. That sale didn't go that well. I wasn't able to buy as many items. I didn't sell as much this month. What can I do differently to improve my results? Instead of always pointing fingers at other. It's
the blame game. It's never your fault. Like, it's never because you took crappy pictures, or you know, only put up one picture, or you spelled something wrong in your listing. Like, seriously?
Yeah. I mean, if you genuinely don't like selling on an e-commerce platform, great, don't do it. But I don't understand why people keep doing it when they feel so negative about it. It's obvious, like, they just think that the world is out to get them. And that makes me think, no matter what they were doing, they probably feel that way. It's not really about what they're doing here. It's just kind of their mindset. And that can bleed over into you. Like, they can, if you buy into that, that victim mentality, you will become a victim.
I really feel bad for new resellers that come into the YouTube universe and imagine, like, certain first impressions, you know, in a hapless comment here, or a video from 5 years ago about how, you know, this analytic does this if you don't do this, and then you have to do this. Like, I get it. It's so easy to get sucked into that.
Yeah, it really is.
And you have to be your own advocate on that. You have to be able to call it what it is. Like, you have to be able to see it for what it is, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The fourth group of people that can really have a negative influence on your eBay business, if you let them, are your coworkers.
So this goes out to all y'all that work 9 to 5 or a whatever, second shift, third shift, whatever it might be. People that you work with that know that you're doing this on the side, whether it's for a little extra money, or heaven forbid, you're working towards doing that full time at some point.
Yeah. I mean, your coworkers, guys, I mean, think about this. Like, you're working with these people and you're going in, you're telling them, hey, I just started selling on eBay and I sold my first item this weekend, or I made $100, or whatever your good news is that they don't really like because maybe they don't like the job they're in, or they tried to start a business once and it didn't work out for them. And they tend to look at that as like, oh, well, you know, you just got lucky, or, you know, why would you? Yeah. And like you said, this one, you said, why would you go into business? You have a job.
Yeah. Why don't you put that time and energy into the job that you have? Like these negative Nancy's, somebody used that term earlier in the chat, come up all over the place.
Yeah.
And especially in something like this, like, and you're going to get the same sort of pushback with coworkers that you do with your family, other YouTubers, your spouse,
Sure.
your partner, whatever. You know, you're doing it wrong. Do it this way. Like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Like people have opinion. Like, what did I say the other day? Like, opinions are like noses. Everybody's got one.
No, you're absolutely right. And I find that in the jobs that I've had in the past, there's always a segment of the working population, any job you have, that they hate the idea of someone finding joy in their life. You know, and that's really what it comes back to. It just so happens you share a job with this person, a workplace, and you can't get away from them. And they're going to be there talking to you, asking you questions, maybe even making fun of what you're doing, you know, criticizing you if your results aren't great, if you happen to mention it. That can really be a tough one, because you're stuck with these people 8 or 9 hours a lot of times a day. You can't easily get away.
All right. So before we go into, this is my favorite part, because now we're going to talk about strategies. Now we're going to share with you ways that we think that you can and will overcome all of this. But hey, did we leave anything out? Like, what have you found is your biggest positivity sucker upper? Put it in the chat and maybe we can address that as well. And then after we do strategies, then we'll open it up for questions and all of that stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. So let's talk about some strategies you can use to deal with this negativity that might come at you around your business, around your eBay business.
I like this one.
Number one was, you want to do this one?
I do. Remind yourself why you're doing it in the first place. Like that, like I keep coming back to that. You know, are you wanting to, well, did we list them out? I'm
right there.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
You know,
the questions, not.
Do you need validation from people? Like, is that why you're doing it? Do you need your coworkers to support you? Do you need your mom to be proud of you? Do you need your husband to give you the thumbs up, you know, every time you list something? I bet that's, you know, maybe that's what it is for you. But for me, the bottom line with no matter what it is laser focus, like drill it down specifically to why you're doing it. And it's not any of those emotional things. It's what's your purpose? What's your mission? And, you know, we've talked about before, you know, maybe it's to buy that house on the lake or buy the boat or pay for your vacation, or maybe you're supplementing your kids' sports team or summer camp or something personal for yourself. But it just remind yourself why are you doing it in the first place? And just all that other noise doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points. You're not doing it for other people. You're doing it for yourself, ultimately, which hopefully will filter over in your interactions with them. Rob, thank you so much for the super chat. Krillin876, who says, eBay is not a real job. How many times you heard that? Yes. Yeah, it's still funny when I tell people when they ask what I do. I still sometimes struggle answering that question, because I want to answer in a way they can understand it. But you always see that puzzled look on their face, like, oh. And sometimes they come out, they flat out ask, they'll say things like, really, you can make money at that? Which the snarky part of me wants to say, oh, what do? You're a lawyer? Oh, you can make money at that? You know, I actually want to say that back to them sometimes, but I don't. I hold it in. Because, you know, there's a perception, whatever.
Again, it was awkward like a couple years ago with that answer, you know, and we kind of mess with people sometimes with they're like, I'm an e-commerce.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, we've come up with some really bizarre titles for it.
You know, Just Pac-Man said, write yourself a check of what you want to make and put it somewhere you can see it every day. It's great motivation. You know who did that? Do you know who did those? Famous? Jim Carrey. I believe it was Jim Carrey.
That's a great story.
He wrote himself, this was many years before he made it big. I think before he was on In Living Color, he wrote himself a check for $10 million. And he dated it. Like by a certain point, it might have been like 5 years in the future. And, you know, he blew up and became very famous and was able to cash that check. Basically, he wrote to himself, which I thought was a great story. But that's a great tip. All right. To deal with this negativity, quit listening to or watching negative YouTubers or resellers. Unfriend them, unsubscribe, block, whatever it takes. I mean, if you spend your days and your time around a bunch of negative people, you will become negative. You will. I don't care how strong you are, how positive you think you are, and ask yourself, why are you really spending your time around those people anyway? You're not going to change them, and all that's going to happen is their attitudes are going to rub off on you. So you've got to quit surrounding yourself with that. I mean, that's a good lesson in life, period, right? Just you've got to take the negative people, even, and this is where it's hard, you know, like it can be negative YouTubers or resellers. We'll talk about how to deal with some of the other groups here in a moment, but some of those people might be your friends or acquaintances, and you may have to pull back from them, guys. It's self-preservation. You are hurting your mindset, which will hurt your business results if you continually hang around people who are negative, negative, negative.
Agreed.
All right.
Here's a good one.
Yeah.
So if you're dealing with a negative spouse, why don't you have a sincere, as non-emotional as possible conversation with them about whatever it is? Just think about that for a second. So if the big criticism or the big knock on you and your business is, let's say you're buying too much, or you're not spending, your person thinks that you're not spending your time correctly. Depending upon your relationship, I would hope that you would be able to have a constructive conversation. Okay, Jason, you know, how do you think I could do it better?
Right.
And it needs to be a reasonable and rational conversation filled with reasonable and rational expectations and goals. Because maybe, you know, and I get it, it's a little risky, because maybe you're coming at it at this level place to have this conversation, but maybe your other person is marred with, you know, all sorts of scars of other things where they can't come at it from that place. So just be prepared, just take the emotion out of it. Okay, I hear you saying this. How do you think I could do it better? And I get that that's opening you up to some, you know, some of that more ridiculous family stuff where, oh, you should do it this way or that way. But seriously, you have to live with this person.
Right.
And you can't live harmoniously if all you're getting is pushback about how you're doing something wrong. So how can I do it better? How can we even do it better together, right? And we hear all the time how couples in particular have found ways to make it work. Like, you know, the husband takes the shipping and drops it off at the post office, or, you know, the wife or the child helps source because that's what they like to do. I mean, there's all kind of solutions,
right?
But your person needs to know that they're being destructive, that all these little half, you know, off the cuff comments about how, you know, they're having this opinion about what you're doing, and you're busting your butt to do it to make a better home for all of you. I think that's, you know, you should be able to have that conversation. And if you can't, I'll come and we'll video chat, and I'll, you know.
Shoot, third party. Amazon seller says criticism is not really the same thing as negativity. Sometimes it's warranted. Absolutely. And I think the way in which you deliver a message obviously changes the way it's received. For instance, if you, you know, come back from a sourcing run and your wife says to you, hey, how did it go sourcing? And you say, well, I drove to this store, and then I drove to this store across town, and this store over there, which is the other side of town, then back to this one, and I don't really find anything, and it took me all day. Well, you've kind of done it in a weird way, right? You've kind of driven all over, maybe it didn't make sense. They've got some different responses here. If they say to you, hey, have you ever considered maybe planning your route out beforehand, you know, Googling the locations, figuring out the quickest route so you can do it in less time and be more efficient. That's a good critique. Criticism is not negative by design. You're right. That's a good criticism. On the other hand, they say, well, it's because of that stupid way that you drove to all the stores. No wonder it took all day. I mean, that was dumb.
Why do you waste so much time taking the long way around the freeway?
Right. You're saying the same thing, but because of the way you're delivering the message, it's going to be received totally differently. So yes, criticism is absolutely warranted at times, and you need it.
Yeah.
You need criticism to grow. You need criticism from people who you can respect and who will deliver in a way that will help you grow and not just, be super negative.
Well, and even on this channel, right? We invite all the opinions. But in all honesty, it's not constructive to say things like, you know what? You're just not funny.
I see what you did there.
See what I did there? Or, you should comb your hair a different way. Or, I mean, there's all kinds of subjective ridiculousness that, yeah, you liked how I put that in. But there's all kind of things that, whatever you have to say, I mean, that's great. And it's but I mean, okay, it's not enough to pose a problem. Like we've both been the boss before, right? Or even an employee for that matter. But when you have a problem, don't come and just complain about it. Have a solution.
I think too, well, if you can, or at least ask good questions. But I think too, one of the things I used to tell my classes was, it's okay in this class to argue and attack positions. Someone thinks or says about something. It's not okay to attack them. And that's a fine line sometimes between those two concepts. But if you focus on somebody's, their looks or, their ethnicity, their background, their gender, whatever, those are not things that really they can control, and they're just part of who they are. If they have an idea about something in business and you want to say, hey, well, all right, that might not work, and here's why, that's fine. Like that's never a problem, and always and should be well received. Now, there's some people can't take that criticism, so you got to be able to take it from someone when they are legitimately trying to give you objective criticism that's not focused on a personal issue, but is more about your overall process.
Yeah, I mean, we get comments all the time that we don't discuss here, but that just kind of leave us scratching our head. Yeah. Like, and we get it that, in your business, in your home, in your life, you're probably dealing with the same thing. Like, it's not, you don't just say something just for the sake of saying it. Because I mean, it's just being not nice.
The fourth strategy we have here, the last one, guys, is it's just simple. I would not, and someone mentioned earlier, don't discuss your business with your coworkers.
It's none of their business.
It's very unlikely they're going to validate your ideas. It's very unlikely they're going to be supportive, because for many of them, it's going to remind them of their own desperation they've had at times in their life, and maybe even some failures they had, or what they perceive to be failures, how they couldn't do it or they couldn't figure it out. And it's rare the person out there who can look at your success when they've not been successful and be objective or be supportive with their response. That person's rare, I think. I mean, there are plenty of people who are successful but have failed over and over and over, but now are successful in their own, by their own measuring stick, who can look at your success or not and say, hey, this is what I think. Not a problem. But for somebody who's never really had much of a level of success, however you want to define that, it's very hard for them to be objective. They're going to tend to go negative, even if it's in sort of a passive aggressive way, has been my experience. So I would just say, don't share it with them. Nothing to be gained from it. It's not really, sometimes your employer could think you're trying to leave the job too, which is an unfortunate side effect. I'm sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
No, I'm just reading.
Oh, she's reading the code.
Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah. So I think between those four strategies, guys, remind yourself of why you're doing it. It's really for you and your own validation, self-worth.
Filter out the noise. Quit listening to all the negativity. It's just not helpful. It's not doing anything good for you.
Having a sincere, non-emotional conversation, if it's a spouse or family member that's a source of negativity.
And keep your business your business. You don't need to share it, especially with people that are going to have an opinion about how you should do it better or how you shouldn't be doing it all, potentially. Yeah.
And, there's probably other strategies too. So, and, if you guys have other ones in the chat or even other examples of what you've had to deal with, we would love to hear them, and just type them in the chat. We're kind of at that point. We're
at that time.
Yeah, we're at that point. I know, Q&A for this subject or any other subject for that matter. But I just think that dealing with negative people, I mean, it's a part of life, unfortunately. But when you're in business, especially when you're new to business, like a lot of people who watch this channel and some of the other channels out there are relatively new, you your business ego can be very fragile,
Mm.
and it's easy to get shattered by just the simplest comment from somebody. And you've got to be on the lookout for it. Like, you got to protect that. Like, you need a little time in this business to toughen up. You need to weather some storms. You're going to have storms on your own that have nothing to do with other people and their negativity. So there's no reason to subject yourself to that if you don't have to. You need to nip those things in the bud or tackle them head on if it's somebody that you can't avoid, or just don't bring it up. Like we said, with coworkers.
You just touched on it, ego. One of the things that I do in my spare time, do I have any of that really? Is I'm team mom for a sport team for my son. And there have been some mama drama and some things that have come up recently. And one of the things that we talked about in how to better deal with that, and it actually played a big part in creating the outline for today, but ego. There is no room for ego in most places. It gets in the way. And that's why when we were talking about, know why you're doing something, remind yourself at the end of the day, in no matter what it is. And we'll use, if you're a team mom or a team dad or whatever, it's not about you. It's about what's in the best interest of whatever the goal is. And in that case, it's the team. And it's making the team the best that it can be. And talk about, potentials for negativity and people having opinions about how things should be done and having a better way and being stubborn, and all this adult ego gets in the way. And what's cool about my situation is the boys are actually, it's a student-run organization. So they're actually able to start navigating some of, not the negativity, but some of the challenges that go along with it. So no ego. Get rid of the ego. There's no room for it. Trust me.
Yeah. There was somebody asked a question I wanted to cover. What do you succinctly, Diriam says, what do you succinctly say when people ask what you do for a living? I'm still trying to figure this out. That's a great question, actually.
Anybody want to add to it? Give us your title in the comments.
Yeah. I mean, I've told people before I'm an e-commerce seller, which is true, because, and ultimately, my business has started evolving into other things as well. So even that doesn't totally fit, but the internet has changed everything. It's a new world out there, and it's changing the way people do business and commerce in so many ways that we're going to kind of have to come up with new titles. I don't know if the titles are really that important.
I know. I got one. I'm a YouTube star. That's what I am. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But you're right. Like the platforms and the social media opportunities that are out there. I mean, we're able to put out our message in so many ways. Like, talk about instant gratification, right?
Yeah. Thomas says he tells them he robs convenience stores.
Thomas, is that even remotely plausible? I mean, come on.
I feel like you're exaggerating, Thomas. I think you may go in and say, hey, would you give me some money? And then they don't. You leave. But maybe you actually rob them. I don't know.
Your local sheriff's department.
I'm being negative, see? See what I did there?
Well, and you can't say stuff like that, because then, you get a comment on a Facebook page and then your local sheriff's department comes to get you because you turned yourself in.
Disclaimer, to our knowledge, Thomas has not robbed any convenience stores. I just want to say that for the record.
I know where he could hide his gun.
I'm a stuff relocator. I tell them I run an online store. These are great.
Oh yeah, I can't read them, so you'll have
I have an online store business. Yeah, that's perfect.
Entrepreneur.
I say I work from home and I hardly ever get any follow-up questions. Isn't that interesting, Leah, that you say that? And I wonder what people think when you tell them that. Like, what do they take away from that? They don't ask any other questions.
Sourcing ninja. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've told them I'm a personal shopper for other people.
That's my favorite.
That I'll never meet. So,
I love that.
And people understand, and most people are like, "Oh, that's really cool," but you can kind of tell they don't totally understand. I think they think that, it's just their great grandma Jane who puts all those items up on eBay for sale, one at a time. They don't even conceive the idea that it's people who've built businesses around it sometimes. Like, they just don't understand. And that's fine. Because ultimately somebody could tell you what their job is, and there'd be a lot of things about it you wouldn't necessarily understand. There's lots of fields out there that are very they're complicated, and they deal with a lot of complicated subjects that take years to sort of master and figure out. And that's fine. You know, this is the same way.
Oh, geez. I sell dead people stuff.
I sell dead people stuff. All right. Well, that's a little more, but okay. Let's see.
We know you play Hold'em for a living there, Mr. Sadie.
Yeah. Mr. Sadie, somebody who I used to know played poker for a living. When people ask them what they did, were involved in currency exchange, which I thought was interesting. And then people were like, "Oh yeah, I get that." They played poker for a living, so I thought that was always great.
It's always an exchange somewhere in one direction or another, right?
Yeah. Let's see what else here. Yeah, if you guys, and by the way, too, guys, we have 110 people watching, so thank you very much for everybody coming out today on a Wednesday midweek. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Flip the Thrift. That name's already taken. You're absolutely right.
It's always great when people come out to these shows. I mean, it does mean something to us, believe it or not. We don't take it for granted. And if you're enjoying the content, what do you think people should do, Kaaren, if they're liking the content so far?
They should smash the like button.
Oh, we haven't gotten the pirate in a while. That was great.
Yeah, Connie, real good icebreaker indeed.
Yeah, let's see.
We've never said that.
What's that? Real good.
As far as I like the personal
I sell dead people stuff.
Yeah, we don't use that one.
Yeah, and that's not always true. A lot of times it's not dead people stuff. It's just stuff that people got rid of. It's really no way to know. I'm sure we've sold some dead people stuff. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
I recently had a yard sale and sent an ad that I welcomed all resellers, and I got a lot of them. They got good deals. It was so fun. Yeah, it's like, why not embrace it? I don't know why there's so much secrecy about reselling. Why is that?
I don't know.
People are like, I can't tell I don't want anybody in a thrift store to know I'm a reseller. I don't want anybody at a yard sale to know I'm a reseller. I really don't want to be asked what I do for a living because then I have to tell somebody I'm a reseller. I'm like, is there some big amount of shame here that I'm missing that we should?
Well, because if you let it on that you're gonna sell it again, I think the idea is that the seller is going to not be as willing to negotiate with you.
If we walk into a Goodwill and buy 30 pairs of jeans, all different sizes and all different and both genders, do you really believe we're buying them for us? You really think they think that?
Tell the truth. We've lied.
No, we have fun with the question, actually. Because here's the thing. People will say, what are you going to do with all those jeans? And
they're all women's jeans. And tell the truth. What have you said before?
Well, I've said lots of things. I've said I'm going to wear them.
I wear women's pants.
I've said, I don't know. You got any ideas? I mean, I've had a little fun with it. But ultimately, I think they know you're going to sell them. I mean, what else? Or you could say, maybe I'll donate them. That'd be funny. I could say, I'm going to donate them to Goodwill while I'm buying with Goodwill. That would be kind of funny.
Oh, that would be kind of funny.
But ultimately, yeah, donate them to the home. I mean, I don't know. The question is just silly after a while. Because when somebody in a store asks me, "Oh, you guys sell on eBay or something?" I'm like, "Yeah, we do." Are they? I've never once they said, "Well, we're not selling those to you." They know people. Like a lot of their customer base is resellers. They know that. They're not stupid. And in a yard sale or something, I think people just want to get rid of crap. I don't know. If they really want to keep and say, well, I didn't know you're going to sell it, I'm not selling it to you. It's like, great. Walk on. I mean, what's the big deal? I don't know.
That's kind of letting all that emotional stuff into it.
What?
Like if somebody wants to sell you something or doesn't want to, I mean,
yeah,
life's too short. Move on.
Yeah. Move along. No big deal. Some people are emotionally attached to their stuff and want to know it's going to a good home. Then they shouldn't sell it at a yard sale.
Then they should keep it.
Or they should keep it. Or they should donate it to a shelter or something. That's just silly.
It's not the family pet.
Right. It's just an item. It doesn't have any significance other than what you give it. And once it's gone, you can quit giving it that significance because it's gone.
And I don't want us to come across harsh when you say that. But at the end of the day, it's true. One of the things that, when I'm asked what I do, is I'm a reformed minimalist now. And I had to become one out of necessity. I basically had to gut an entire house, a lifetime full of memories, things, possessions, tchotchkes, whatever. And it was hard, like taking that first step. But then once I did, it was so freeing. Like you own your stuff, not the other way around. Don't even get me started, people.
Yeah. You know, and somebody made a great point. They said, I recycle to keep stuff out of the landfill. You can tell people you're a clothing recycler if you sell clothes. I mean, because you are potentially keeping it out of a landfill. You're giving it a new home where somebody else can wear it and get some use out of it. That's the whole point, which is good for the environment, good for resources. I mean, good for the person buying it, good for you. Win, win, win.
Yeah, at some point we got to figure out ways to do that better.
Target doesn't like resellers. You know, I hear that, but an awful lot of people I know that sell Amazon FBA have done an awful lot of retail arbitrage over the last several years.
And are still doing it.
And are still doing it. I mean, Target and Walmart, you know, and the big box, they know that those people are out there doing it. And it's a tricky scenario for them, because if somebody walks up to a register with 50 of something, that's 50 sales. Like, you're going to sell 50 items. Like, that's a big average selling price. And those items now no longer sit on your shelf. You've recouped your cost of goods. You know, you're turning inventory, which is cash flow. On the other hand, you're potentially disappointing 49 other people, is the way Walmart or Target might look at it as well. So it's a tricky spot for them to be in. I understand it. But I think ultimately those stores will want to make sales. So you could even say, hey, instead of buying 50 of these at this Target, I'm going to buy 5 and go to 10 Targets. Or I'm going to buy 10 and go to 5 Targets. Whatever it is, you can sort of fly under the radar a little bit more there if you are getting a lot of pushback from a retailer, because they do have a slightly different take on it. Whereas I think a thrift store a lot of times isn't going to care. It's like they really think somebody's going to come in and buy those 30 pair of jeans. Not likely.
And we have friends to this day. I know that recently there was a lot of hullabaloo when Amazon changed their rules and this and that, but we still have friends to this day that are still making the rounds in a tri-state, oct-state radius, where they go to every Walmart, every Target, every whatever. They hit on an item, they're bolo, and they go round up all the things. Yeah. And they're mad, like they're mad successful.
Sure. I mean, it's, there's always ways around this. And if retail arbitrage goes away, which I'm not even sure exactly how that would go away completely, and it might get harder, or they're just more competitive, or I don't know, stores may crack down somewhat. There's still always ways around things, guys. I mean, one of my friends who does about $1 million a year on Amazon, he stacks the what out of coupons. I mean, he can go in some of these stores with coupons and get just ridiculous deals and get, 30, 40, 50% off of items that otherwise wouldn't have been retail arbitrage worthy, but now are, because he's figured out the system.
Coupons on top of coupons on top of coupons.
Yeah. I mean, and, Christmas time is different. Fourth quarter is a little different for stores because they do want to make people happy. People come there and expect to get certain things. And when they don't, they walk out in the month of December. Because they're there for that one item. They're not going to stick around and buy their toothpaste and their toilet paper and all the other crap that they need. They came there for the one thing they want. And when they don't get it, sometimes they will leave. That is true. But most of the year, that is not necessarily the case. So, sorry, there's a little gnat flying around here, driving me crazy.
Like a gnat?
Yeah, I've had people thank me for getting rid of stuff at a Walmart clearance. Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool. And yes, we're going to tell all the stories on Jack about minimalism for sure. And they're not always going to be pretty. Nice.
I pray for someone to buy 50 of anything from me.
Me
I know,
too.
Right? Yeah. And it's different when you're an individual than it is when you're a retailer. But even there, like, some of these guys drive up literally trucks to load up. Trucks, I mean, full of stuff. And it's just crazy. So, retail arbitrage is still viable. It does take a decent amount of capital to really turn a lot of volume at it, for sure. But it can be done still in this day and age, 2017. To prove there's always ways to make these business models work in different ways. You just have to decide what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're willing to do to get the result you want. So,
and what you're willing to settle for, like, what's your threshold? How much nonsense are you going to let in? Right. And that's if you get anything from today, it's that you control your negativity filter. You completely control what you let in and what you don't.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, the description down below has some helpful links. Check out the links down there to subscribe, buy the Killer Jeans Guide if you're interested in selling jeans on eBay, which is a great time of year to do that. There's also a link to your channel there.
Yes, a completely non-reseller approach. Yeah, so I have a channel, Just Ask Kaaren, and it's all about the other things. It's about life and death and everything in between. So check me out if you want to just
real light stuff, but with a great slant,
with a Kaaren twist, right?
Yeah. So, but again, thanks guys for coming out today. Awesome turnout today. We really appreciate it. And you know, don't let the
negative Nancy's.
Yeah, I was trying to think. There was advice. There was a president. Presidents always write notes to one another when they change office. And I can't remember the president, but he wrote on a pad. His note was, "Don't let the turkeys get you down to the next incoming president." And it's just really that simple. Don't let them get you down. Use the strategies we talked about and anything else you can come up with to avoid all that negativity in your life. And you'll be happier and your business is going to be more successful because of it.
You can do it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for now. So thanks again for stopping in. We'll see you guys soon. I am Prof Sales.
And I'm Kaaren saying good sales to you.